Customer service, done right, can be your company's single biggest competitive advantage. Welcome to the Customer Service Revolution. Join customer service authority and best-selling author John DiJulius as he interviews leaders who are revolutionizing their industries. This is more than a podcast, though. It's a movement. The Customer Service Revolution is a radical overthrow of conventional business mentality designed to transform what customers and employees experience. If you're a revolutionary customer service leader who's ready to stop competing on price and obsessed with building a brand that people cannot live without, this podcast is for you. Hi, this is Denise Thompson of the DiJulius Group, and I'm so excited for today's podcast. In this episode, John DiJulius interviews Emmy Award-winning journalist, author, speaker, and coach, Adrienne Bankert. Adrienne is a national correspondent for ABC News, often seen on Good Morning America and World News Tonight. She has covered some of the most historic headlines of the past decade and has interviewed some of the biggest names in sports and entertainment. Her new book, Your Hidden Superpower, The Kindness That Makes You Unbeatable at Work and Connects You with Anyone, is about resilience, facing competition, and dealing with negativity. You'll find out in this episode how Adrienne defines kindness. You'll also hear how to not react with a clapback, her own techniques for always having more compassion and empathy for people, how to cope with the crazy times we're living in today and remain positive, how important it is to have every conversation count, how to be situationally aware, how you can systemize kindness, how to provide easy-to-do, big-impact kindness moments, and how to deal with negativity. Adrienne will be presenting at the 2020 Virtual CX Event of the Year, the Customer Service Revolution, so she'll also give us the scoop on what she'll be sharing with our attendees. If you haven't registered for the conference yet, you can do so at customerservicerevolution.com. Now here's your host of the Customer Service Revolution podcast, John DiJulius.
Hello, revolutionaries. Welcome to another incredible episode of the Customer Service Revolution. I am John DiJulius, Chief Revolution Officer at the DiJulius Group, and I am so pumped up to have the amazing Adrienne Bankert. Welcome, Adrienne.
Thank you, John. Good to be with you.
Oh, it's so good. I'm so excited about this. Adrienne, as you've already heard, is an Emmy Award-winning journalist, author, and speaker, and correspondent for ABC News, Good Morning America, all that stuff. And the way I stumbled onto you, Adrienne, is I was listening to a podcast, and it was on your new book, Your Hidden Superpower, The Kindness That Makes You Unbeatable at Work and Connects You with Anyone. And I just loved it. Didn't know who you were at the time because I'm anti-news. And so, but I'm like, I've written 5 books on customer service, right? So I was kind of like, all right, I kind of want to see where this is going.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? I love the ambulance in the background because you're in New York right now.
Because this is like the harmony and the soundtrack of New York City. The sirens, the sounds. It's actually encouraging to me because even though it's an ambulance, there's signs of life, life-saving efforts and life in the city again. And for a while here, it was like a ghost town. I mean, you could walk down Madison Avenue, Fifth Avenue, and see maybe 2 people. And can you imagine on a Saturday? It
in
was
New York.
Unbelievable and really hit you in your heart. Like, this is the city that a lot of us move to because we love it or have a dream. And when the dream doesn't look like what you thought it was going to be, what do you do? So I think I might have told you this in an off mic conversation that the book helped me. That's how I know it'll help a lot of people because it helped me when I was going through some trying times.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what, so I was listening to you on being interviewed on a podcast,
right?
And not knowing who you were. I'm like, God, I love this stuff. Like, this is really cool stuff. And now more than ever, right, the kindness movement is the best prescription, remedy. And so, but here's what really shocked me. I'm like, all right, looking up the name, Adrienne Bankert, and I go online because I don't watch headline news on purpose. And I was so shocked that, you were a journalist in the media, and to have this perspective coming from that industry. And just, I would think as an outsider that, being a longtime journalist in the news media, you become more jaded with the world because you see things that I only see in movies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that a lot of industries are like that. I think that for so many people, they fight a lot of, I don't want to say like bad vibes, but negative people. They have situations where they carry a lot of baggage from their first job into their next stage of their career. They're in high pressure environments, whether they're working on Wall Street or they're working in sales or they're working in media. And so it's really important to hone the skill of kindness so that your knee-jerk response isn't a clapback, to continue.
What's a clapback?
A clapback is like where somebody says something to you that is said in an unkind way or a angry way, a heated moment, and you sock it to
their
them.
attitude. You match the attitude.
Yeah, you sock it to them.
Yeah, I'm so guilty of that. And then you walk away. I did not have to do that.
We've all been guilty of it. I think the majority of people are guilty of it. I think there's a few select people who are really gentle and sweet all the time. And they deal with conflict in a different way. Some people sweep things under the rug for years and years and years, and then they blow up one day and people are thinking, well, what happened? And it's like, it was an accumulation of a lot of people being rough with you and you not saying anything. I mean, customer service, you're bringing up customer service, obviously the revolution. I don't see how you can separate kindness and customer service, because I was just talking to a woman who's a friend of mine, somebody I mentor. She works for a major airline. And I told her, I said, you would really be useful to explain to corporate clients the kinds of nurturing they need to the relationship with a travel coordinator. But you also need to explain how to have bedside manner as a travel coordinator with these corporate clients. That makes everything go so much more smoothly. And so we were just having a short discussion about that just today over lunch. And I think that people take it lightly or take it for granted, like, oh, we all know what kindness is and you should be kind. And why do I have to tell you how to be kind? You should have learned that in kindergarten. But it's not just elementary. It's really something that you have to hone as a strength. And that's, I see it as a superpower because I've seen how powerful it is in my business and in other people's business. And so I think it's something that you develop over time and become better at, and you never stop learning.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I just fell in love with the book. I've listened to it. And I have a friend that wrote a book about 20 years ago called Life is a Daymaker. And it reminds me of it in a way of like, it's a book you can easily consume in a weekend.
Yeah.
But I had found with your book, his book, that I wanted to listen to it in parts because, if I listen to it all, I'm more aware for the next 48 hours. But then, life comes back at you and you start forgetting. And so I really enjoyed listening to the book in small doses, drives to work, out for a run. A lot of times I couldn't wait to get back in the car to finish your story or whatever it was. But I did incredible things as a result of listening to the book. And I'll explain those a little later because I don't want to give it. But all right, let's talk about it. Let our audience know, what is kindness and in your terms?
Kindness is your identity. It's more about who you are than what you do, because a lot of people focus on doing the right things. But if you talk to anybody who's really, really good, who's in their sweet spot, they'll explain to you that it is more about being, right? Talking to Bradley Cooper, that was his tip in acting. He was coaching Lady Gaga in acting. And he said, none of us are really wanting to look like we're acting. We don't want to even rehearse the lines. We want to just be in that moment. We want to be that story. And so when I talk to people who are in upper levels of management, people who are really successful in life, they've come to this, I guess, zen where they eat, breathe, sleep this thing. And it's no longer as much of a stressor as it is this sweet spot, like I said, because they are being. And with kindness, if you are kind and you determine, as it says in the dictionary, it's your natural propensity and determination, not just your thoughtfulness, not just an adjective of consideration and friendliness, but again, it's in your DNA, then your knee-jerk response, even in high-pressure moments, even in the midst of deadlines, even in the midst of people speaking to you in an unkind fashion, you will respond with kindness, which will actually safeguard you in a lot of ways, in terms of reputation, in terms of relationships, in terms of job security. There are a lot of reasons why people will, talk about like toxic people. Obviously that exists. but we don't want to become toxic because of the situation or the industry that we've decided to be in. We want to actually rise above any culture and actually shift culture to one of more compassion and kindness.
No, and I love that. And so we kind of started going down that road a little bit. How do you pause, not clap back? Because I'm guilty of it. If someone, gives me attitude, I'll match it. And then I regret it. And I start thinking about, who knows what they're going through. And,
Yep.
It's not personal. It's not like they dislike me. It might be their job. It might be their relationship. So how do you, help Adrienne not clap back?
Well,
I'm using that phrase right.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. For one of the stories that I tell,
I'm a millennial now. Clap back.
There you go.
100.
You just garnered a whole legion
Right,
of
audience,
fans.
new audience.
Yes.
Me and Gary
who are
Vee.
under 35. Congratulations. I always think somebody died. I know that's a really hard turn from what we were laughing about just now, but I literally envision that if somebody's acting a little outside the box, strife, anger, tension, rudeness, I think somebody must have died. And it can be real or imagined that I think that there is something grief, mourning related, that they're upset about something in their personal life. I literally just use that as my mechanism to offer more compassion because I've been there when somebody's died and how I was emotionally unstable. And so it's easy for me to really give them more leeway in that moment and not take it personally and not be thin-skinned. So that's my number one thing. And then I imagine that they only have 24 hours left to live. And do I want my last conversation with them to be one where I get the last word in and yet then they're gone? How is my conscience going to feel if that's the last impression I leave with this human being? Then it becomes more real. Because I'll say to myself, okay, if they're not going to be on the planet much longer, then I can hold on and hold my tongue for 24 hours. So it's a mind game, but it works.
No, you're listening to your book in the past month. I've done interviews where, I didn't really read the book. I really read the book.
This is a confessional.
One of the things that, and it's kind of morbid, but, going along with exactly what you're talking about, what you made me think of is what if, I clap back and then later on I read, find out that person committed suicide.
I'm telling you.
Like, wouldn't I have been a different person?
Yeah.
What if my opportunity to be compassionate could have prevented it? I know that people are listening are probably thinking, you guys are really morbid, but it really puts me in a better light. Like, I don't know what this person's going through.
Yep. I don't, and if people think that's morbid, then oh well, because it's what works, because we have larger than life problems right now. I mean, they are phenomenally huge, more pressure than we've ever been under as a society, as families, with all the change that's gone on just in the past 6 months. And so the only thing I've been able to do to cope is to make things larger than life to match that size problem. So it might sound like it's morbid or it might sound over dramatizing, but life is so over the top that if you don't make your internal mechanism or vehicle or medium something big like death, life and death, or you don't make your dream larger than life, then you'll completely crumble under the pressure. And I can't afford to crumble, not in 2020 and not for the rest of my life, because I got too much to do. And so it's a mind game, or it's a technique that I know isn't new. Somebody else has done it, but I've just employed it in this book. And I don't know anybody else. Nobody's ever told me that they did it. But you saying what you just said right now, I have family members who have committed suicide. I've had family members who've had mental illness. I've worked with people who are on their deathbed. And I'm so glad that I had those experiences really early on in my career, because it gave me this seriousness about life and how important words are and how important it is to have every conversation count. I really do believe that. I can have a whole lot of fun, but I got to take my words very, very seriously because they're powerful.
Well, yeah, and the platform you're on, and that's why I was both, shocked that it was someone from the, news industry that, to me would feel like you could become jaded because you're seeing stuff, every day that's life changing. But also your success. You've been very successful. And, I don't think you became kinder as you become more successful. So where did this come from? Where, I know your mom's from Ohio. So, I mean,
Yes.
I'm going to take credit for that because Ohio is such a friendly state. But no, where was it something you were born, raised with? Why did you fall on this path?
Well, I think there are a couple of things. One is my mother did say as a child to me, somebody's always watching you, even when you can't see them. And I think she was, somehow channeling the wisdom that parents get, just ascribed wisdom, because she didn't know I was going to grow up and be in television where somebody really is literally always watching you.
Right.
And not just on TV. Now all of us have an audience on social media. What we're posting is being seen by an invisible audience is very real. And they can read a lot of things and they can read in between the lines. So that was a big part of it. Just living like I'm on a hot mic now all the time has really benefited me. And it comes from my mom. But I do think that I've become kinder as I've become more successful because of my executive coach. And he has really trained me in kindness and was the one who actually suggested that I write a book on kindness, because I wasn't going to write a book on kindness. I thought, this is what I do. This is a recipe for my success, but I don't know that anybody else would really read it. But it turns out that it resonated with a lot of people. It has continued to resonate with a lot of people. And what I found is in the high stress environment of television, you need something to keep you sane, to keep your head in the game, to keep you innovative, and to keep your relationships at work right. Because there are large personalities, and you have to know how to communicate to all the different kinds of large personalities. That's true across.
Is that a polite way of saying egos?
That you could say that. But you have high performing people. You have people who are driven, highly ambitious, A-type personalities, used to being in charge. I'm the oldest of 7 kids. I saw it in myself at a young age. I learned quickly that I couldn't act like the oldest of 7 kids at work. Not when I was the youngest one on the staff.
Yeah.
Because that made me seem like I was too big for my britches. So learning those lessons early in life was all training to bring me here, and learning how kindness actually, there were times when I had unkind things to say. There were times when I didn't handle things right with my crew. Those hard knock lessons led me to be more kind. So actually, I think that, and I write about this in the book just briefly, the more successful you become, the more you do need kindness, because you have more people watching you.
1,000%.
You know what I'm saying? You have to. It's not negotiable anymore.
Right.
And you're more
in a way it could get harder because you're busier, you're in more demand. Yes. You're running from, shoot to meeting to presentation to this. Like, where do you find? And that's one of my future questions is, how do you systematize it? But one thing I do want to track back is I love what you do in the book is how you talk about your mentor.
Yeah.
I like the way you talk about him, the influence, the advice, just the positivity. I'd love for someone to, that is really cool, that how much you appreciate him, how cool he must be to be like that. But I really love the way you talk about the impact he's had on your career and in your personal life.
Well, thank you. And I think that a lot of times mentors and executive coaches and life coaches are shrouded in secrecy and mystery. And it's like people look like they've arrived all by themselves. And nobody ever tells you how to bake the cake. Nobody ever tells you all of the, that inner circle conversation that you had, moments where you wanted to quit, those moments when you were crying or failing, and that one person or that group of people was able to help you stay lifted. And because he gave me the idea to write it and said, you really should write this book, I felt like I had to mention him. Like I couldn't go without mentioning him. It wasn't an obligation thing. It was like,
and you do several times.
Yeah. Yeah. I told him that too. Great. I was like, I mentioned you a lot.
He wrote your foreword, didn't he?
And he wrote the foreword.
Yeah, which was great. It was great credibility to hear about that, you really are this person. You're not just putting that up.
You're not faking it. No, and again, it wasn't my idea. I didn't have any intention of writing it. And there's the traffic in New York. Hello, traffic. Yeah, and I think too, I'm a big proponent of mentoring. I mentor people myself. I've always had that in me and do it quite often and consult people and believe that that's what gives life meaning is mentoring.
Yeah. And the people you mentor and give back and all the charity work. I mean, it is incredible. Yeah, but I have a quote in one of my books, and I think I attribute it to Unknown, but I saw it. You have this similar quote. I love this quote. Kindness isn't an act. It's a lifestyle.
Yes.
And I love that, right? It's not you're doing it to hope you get a bigger tip, a promotion, a this. It's just who you are.
Yes.
And where you point out in the book, you do it to the janitor, you do it to CEO, you do it to the person that could open doors for you, you do it to the person that came up to you on the street and asked you where, the story that you showed them the bathroom or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And you're not doing it to hope that it comes back to you.
No.
It does, right?
It does. Yeah, automatically. But I think that a lot of people, and especially when I say this generation, I mean this generation, like age 70 to age 8 years old.
Yeah.
We've been we usually have this sense of doing things and looking for the payoff, or doing things, and we believe in karma to a degree, but we don't really institute it as much. I think that you'd want your kids to do the right thing, whether anybody was watching or not. And that honor, that deliberate, intentional, not just doing good things, but being situationally aware is something you don't get taught in school. You might get taught at home, but I want to teach it in a way that is definitely involved in the corporate world, that we would, as business people, be more situationally aware so that we're not just doing things because we have it on our to-do list or on our Excel spreadsheet or in our inbox, but we're paying attention to the colleague who doesn't look so good, who might be going through a divorce, who might have a child who's having struggles learning because of this digital era of education that we're in. We should be our brother's keeper. And we should buddy up right now because there's a lot of isolation, there's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of loneliness.
All right, so what your book also made me realize is it reminded me of the times when I've been kind and made me do so many things in the past month. And what I realized is at the end of the day, the person providing the kindness benefits the most, right? I mean, It's almost a selfish thing. You pay the guy's toll behind you who you've never met before. And, who feels better? I mean, he feels good, but you feel great.
Yeah.
And it is intoxicating. It's like, a drug or something in a safe, less
legal
way. Right.
Completely legit way. No, it's a win-win. It's a win-win because you don't know how much your kindness affected if you paid the guy's toll behind you. Maybe he had the worst day ever. He had a flat tire. He's late to work. His wife is not happy, or he's not happy in his marriage, or he just found out that one of his beloved cousins passed away, and you paid his toll. And it seems like a small thing, but it's the one bright spot in his day that's going to keep oxygen in his lungs to not quit. Meanwhile, you're feeling fueled and recharged because you did something special for someone. And whether you see their response or not, you're like, wow, I did something that impacted somebody else's life.
Yeah. All right. So I love all the low-hanging fruit examples you give. And I want people, because right now, if I'm listening, I'm thinking, all right, that's all hyperbole, kindness, what do you mean? So give us some examples. Both, I love your examples. And then after you give them, I'm going to share what I did as a result.
Okay.
But also how you make it intentional, okay? Because we're crazy busy, slam back to back. How do you stop for a second and remember to tell the cameraman or my intern, I really appreciate you coming in, getting set up and, making me look good, right? Yeah. I mean, like you said, there's no such thing as a self-made man, and I always say it takes so many people to make me look, halfway decent.
All of us. Yeah.
Right. So the two questions there. Can you share some great low-hanging fruit examples, which I love? And then how do we intentionalize it that I don't just do it because I listened to your book and then, a month goes by and I forgot about it?
Immediately make it a fitness plan. Just like you work out, just like you go for a morning jog, just like you get on the treadmill or the bike. I want you to create a fitness plan for kindness. Kindness is my keto, is one thing that I say. It's my way of staying in shape and keeping the chemicals and, the vitamins and the nutrients bubbling up inside of me in the right measure.
So you build it into your schedule?
Yeah.
You literally have it 8 a.m. every day or Wednesday and gratitude and all that?
So for me, because I've been practicing kindness so much, I don't have to actually put daily reminders to be kind. That's what I'm hoping people get to. Right now, if you're starting off, you have to put it in your schedule. So one way is to first examine if you already have some kindness in your schedule. So if you mentor somebody, mentoring is free, coaching is paid usually, right? So if you're mentoring people already and you've set aside time to do that every week, you already have kindness in place in your calendar. Mentoring someone is ultimately one of the highest acts of kindness because it's an investment in another person. But I'm telling you that I do that at least twice a week with a group. Then I have one-on-one consulting and coaching and mentoring calls. Whether you're getting paid or not, I want you to think about the investment that you're making into that other human being. But then you have to do simple gestures of kindness. Like today, I went to a dentist. I was on one side of town. I was going to rush right back because I knew I had this and I had another meeting. And I thought, you know what? I have a little time. I'm going to call a woman that I mentor who lives on the east side of town and see if she wants to grab lunch. It was 11:45. I said, yo, can you get off the phone? Like, let's go to lunch. She said, okay, I'll be right there. Starts walking towards me. We walk. We have a nice patio lunch. I said, I got to go. It's 1 o'clock. But she was like, thank you so much for making time and thinking of me. It was not in my schedule. I didn't have a lunch date. I was going to hustle right back home. But just those thoughts of considering, where am I? Who's over here? Is there anybody I need to call right now? Those kind of notions will come to you more frequently as you schedule kindness. So I was talking to a young man. He's an engineer for a tech startup in Silicon Valley. And he was saying that his natural tendency is not kindness. His natural tendency is get the job done and keep it moving. Not even warm and fuzzy in any way. And so I said, okay, every day at 11 o'clock, I want you to call somebody and thank them and show appreciation to them just because. Every day at 11. Put that in your calendar, just like you put any other meeting. If something is scheduled over that time, move it to a time that suits your schedule. You don't want to lose business or lose assignments or lose face with your team. But scheduling that every day is going to give him that muscle memory to be kind and thoughtful without even thinking about it. He's going to think about yesterday, my assistant ordered me bubble tea. She ordered me 4. Now, God knows I can drink 4 bubble tea because I like bubble tea. But one day she had said months ago, well, I hope you give them to your doorman. And I'm like, no, I'm drinking all these myself. I like bubble tea. But then last night when I saw these, I said to my 2 doormen, I said, listen, I have bubble tea. Would you like one? And both of them accepted it. And we're like, thank you so much. Again, I didn't schedule that, but I was conscious of it because of the muscle memory that I developed. So every day you go to the gym or you work out in your house or you get on the stationary bike, every day you make a just because phone call. Every day you think about who you can buy coffee or lunch for, because that's what people in this business do. You're not meeting as often for lunches or dinners. Set some money aside in an envelope. I'm not asking you to buy people coffee or lunch every day. I'm asking you to be conscious of it. And I'm asking you to think of people that you can relate to in your past customer list, in your present customer list, or even in your future customer list and say, hey, this is me just shouting you out. I just put $10 in your Venmo. What's your Venmo, first of all? And they'll say, why? Here it is. And then here's some cash, $10, coffee on me. They're going to smile just like you're smiling right now. And it's going to just brighten their day. It's not about the money. It's about the thought. So that's just a conscious effort that I say, as you do that, you're going to get practiced in kindness.
I love it. I love it. So to that point, so what are, the Venmo, I loved it. And I did that for my son.
Yeah, you did it.
Yeah. I did it for my son who, is traveling all over the world right now. And I just, I did a video from a suggestion that I listened to you say, and I did a video. I was about to text him, right? Hey, miss you. Hope everything's good. And then I heard you say the example. So I videoed saying, hey, buddy, I miss you. Can't wait till you come home. And I just put $25 in your Venmo account to buy you lunch as long as it's healthy, because we always, he doesn't always eat healthy. So that was more of an inside joke with us. But he thought it was the coolest thing. And then I started doing it. I went to, get my hair cut at my own salon. And, a hairdresser cuts my hair and I leave. And I was going to text her, thank you. And it was right. I sent her a video saying, I love my haircut. I even love more your energy and the conversation. And this meant the world to her. But I'm afraid that that's going to wear off. The deodorant is going to wear off if I don't keep on reapplying it. So making sure that I build it in.
First of all, just to catch listeners up. So one of my suggestions, I think I made it on podcast, and I think I've written some blogs about it. So instead of sending a text message, what you do is you send a short 10 to 15 second appreciation video. Selfie mode your face, make sure you're smiling, freeze frame, then press record so it's not blurry, and just say, hey, listen, you're a rock star. I can't wait to see your face. Press send. That's all somebody needs to brighten their day. It's completely free. Anybody can do it. Here's why I came up with it. I got tired of sending text messages. They were so boring, and I just was weary of seeing words on a screen between emails and everything else. I was just like, well, Instagram works and TikTok works because it's video. So why don't we send text messages via video? And you did it, and it sounds like it really worked for your son and your hairdresser. And I'm just telling you that you mix it up. It's just like a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
You know, your wife, you met her when you guys first fell in love, like you did certain things, and then you had to get a little more creative.
Open the car door for her. I used to pay.
Yeah.
Now I forget my wallet, and, you know, I'm not walking to that side of the car.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, there's different things and different seasons, and, you know, maybe it's rose petals one day, and then the other day it's let's go have a spa day together. And then another day it's let's take a weekend trip, or let's have a staycation at a hotel in our town. But you keep it fresh. And for a lot of people, they've let kindness grow stale. It's the same, buy coffee for the person in front of you. Like, I'm all for that. I'm good on that. Like, I'm 100% behind it. But that's the only example I would hear. I would hear, buy coffee for the person in front of you. And I'm thinking there have to be other ways that people can be generally kind. And so I started brainstorming during the midst of this pandemic.
So give us some other ones, because I love your examples.
Well, we just did the one on the videos. We just did the one on the Venmo coffee, lunch, dinner.
What if you can't find the person on Venmo?
Send flowers. Like, find out their address. All you have to do is ask somebody. See, to me, it's like one of my girlfriends, she recommended that I watch this movie. And she just was like, you need to watch this movie. It's $20, but it'll be worth your time. Just recommending that I watch this certain movie was a huge deal to me, because I don't watch a lot of movies unless it's work related. But it was like, she said, go get some popcorn, go get some candy, and go to the movies. Well, a month before, her sister had mailed me a package and said, hey, are you going to be home to get the mail? I said, sure. She sent me a pack of popcorn, some candy, and some colored drawings that her kids had done from coloring books of Mickey Mouse. And it was just like, have a movie night. I know you can't be here to have a movie night with us and the kids, so make sure to have a movie night one of these days.
That's
just
awesome.
Thinking of others in the midst of a time when we're separated, in the midst of a time when we've gone through a lot of hell, in the midst of a time when things have been really high pressure. And relieving the pressure is one of my favorite versions of kindness. The other day, a newer friend of mine lives in my neighborhood. I meet people. Kindness allows me to meet people in the midst of a pandemic. So I had a friend, and he had a loss in his family. And there's a little book that I give out to people when they lose somebody they love. And I had another book that I wanted him to read. And I said, okay, I'm going to drop off this book. I'm going to have the car service pull up to the corner. But can you do me a favor and get me a matcha latte? And he said, sure, I can. So he knows how I drink my matcha latte with almond milk or coconut milk. And he brought it to the window, and I brought him the books. And it was just the cutest little moment, like that, you know, I'm going to borrow a cup of sugar and some eggs from you, but in a very New York way on the side of a corner next to Starbucks.
Socially distant
cup of sugar. And
masks on. Yeah. Today.
You meet people. I mean, there's this woman who was in the deli with me, really staring hard at me. And I thought, why is she checking me out? Like, what's going on? And she finally came over, and she's still looking at me. And I'm like, okay, I need to strike up conversation with this lady. And I said, you look familiar. What's up? And she took her mask down, which was a sign of trust.
Yes.
And she said, you have the same kind of hair as me. And I was staring at you because you do. And I said, really? She's like, where are you from? And so we struck up a conversation. Turns out she's a model that works here in New York. And she's from like a foreign country, you know, just very like exciting lifestyle, where she came here just to pursue her dream of modeling. But she said, you should go see my hairdresser. So I went to go see her hairdresser because of a meeting in the deli. It's just being intentional and aware of others around you. It's priceless and opens doors that you didn't know were available.
Yeah. No, I situationally aware. I think you might have mentioned that in your book, and I love it. You know, we just say pay attention to shit, but you're right. Yeah, I think your term is probably better, right? Be situationally aware.
Situationally aware and pay attention.
Yeah, I love it. All right, so in the world we're at, you know, it's hard, right? You know, people are on social media, they're getting sucked in, or maybe they're not feeling kind from others.
Yeah.
What do you recommend to not go down that black hole that more than ever, we can easily get sucked in.
To negativity, to doubt, to frustration, to grief.
And, woe is me, or the world has changed. I hate, when I hear that, I mean, like, I'll go back to, how we had, slavery, concentration camps. I mean, like, nothing could be worse than that. Things could be always better. But I hate when people think that the world's at its all-time worst as far as good human beings.
Well, we have to be good human beings no matter what the world's going through. I mean, that's to me our duty. And I know that, people have major, major dilemmas they're facing. There are people who are confronting social ills or injustice, or they're battling a COVID-19, or they have family members who are battling COVID-19. I mean, there's just a bunch of different layers to this painful cake. And yet we're supposed to put on our happy face and keep business moving and keep making money and And so you have to weigh the empathy against, really kind of self-kindness and what I call community care, because self-care is community care. Because if you don't take care of yourself, then you don't have anything to give to anybody. You actually take it out on other people. You'll be edgy. You'll be cranky. You won't have kind words to speak. So one of the ways to not go down a negativity funnel is, number one, to make sure that you're making time to be kind to yourself, that you are investing in you.
What does that look like?
I mean, it's different for everybody, but I mean, like right now in New York, you can't go to the spa. You can go for a body treatment, but you can't get a facial. In California, for a time, you could get a facial, and then they closed the salons again.
Everything's closed in California.
Right. And so, but for me, that was my respite. That was my sanctuary, going to a spa, getting a massage, getting a facial. And when you don't have those things, going to a chiropractor, they might be open now. But so it's, what can you do in your area, outside of your house? But then what can you do inside of your house? Are you exercising? Are you feeding yourself right? For a lot of us during this time, we either weren't eating at all, because for a lot of people that grief was so pervasive. Oh, it was just hanging over people in cities. But that doesn't mean you stop feeding yourself with love. I'll never forget the lesson that I learned about, when I come from a big family, 7 kids, I'm used to cooking for a ton of people. I'm used to making food for 16 people because everyone wants seconds. Then you move out and you're by yourself, and you don't cook with the same love because you don't have the community. You don't have the communal table. So you throw together anything, you eat like cottage cheese and some Cheetos, and you're like, I'm good. I mean, that I remember learning this lesson and thinking, that's why I get so stressed about what I'm going to eat. I don't have a meal plan. I don't have a weekly menu, and I don't have a whole bunch of people eating with me every time. And so I had to learn to love myself more around food than I ever had before. And that requires, eating green vegetables, eating fresh fruits, having fresh meat, not having everything frozen or canned or prepared from a shelf. I know this sounds really basic, but
it's not, though. It's not. I mean, everyone I've seen, there's 2 types of people. I heard a quote, quarantine exaggerated who you are as a person, right? And
absolutely.
So people either put on 10 to 15 pounds or lost 10 to 15 pounds.
Yes.
They took advantage of it, or they said, well, my gym is closed. I can't work out. And, you're like, did you know that there were gyms invented for the first 1,000 years? And they seem to, but no. And what about feeding your brain? I think that's just as important.
Well, and that's the thing, what are you listening to? Are you only, what I've told people is, if you are going to watch any type of news broadcast, what's going on, looking at social media, reading the debating that's going on online. If you're going to do that and you're not going to stop, that's fine. I want you to add the same amount of time to looking up, Googling kindness stories and people being humane to one another. Because what we'll tend to do is we'll have one side of the story, one side of the coin. But I hear stories of hope. I hear stories of unity. I hear stories of people and communities working together. I hear stories of people being allies. I hear stories of people investing and corporations investing in their neighborhoods. And it's because I'm searching for them. It's just easier. The negative, it's like weeds grow up faster than the grass. That was an analogy that I was told a long, long time ago in a coaching session. So if the negative is easier to find, it doesn't mean that the positive doesn't exist. And there are people and there are industries that are actually more fruitful right now than they were before the pandemic. And so what can we learn from them, and how can we be inspired to be in that category?
And it is what you're looking for. Like, people criticize social media, and I know it's drawbacks, but I don't know if it's just the people or my algorithms, but everyone that, post positive stuff. And I love the people that, are on my thing. They're not the, woe is me and, all this. Did you ever get to see John Krasinski's Some Good News?
Yeah.
Oh my
So
God.
cute.
I couldn't wait for, they came out every Friday. And usually when I see a video longer than 3 minutes, I'm like, I'm not watching this. And they were typically, and I cried. I loved that. I mean, I loved every episode. It was just so cool in a time where you just weren't, the sensationalism, was typically the opposite.
And we have to show kindness to people who are on a different page than us. You know what I'm saying? There are people who have had moments or bouts with depression during this time. There are people who haven't known how to pick themselves back up again. One thing that I wrote about when I first entered this pandemic phase is I was really sad and I wasn't motivated. And I thought, what is wrong? Why does this feel familiar? And I realized that the pandemic, because I was working from home, even though I still had the same salary, even though I still worked for the same company, even though I was doing the Zoom version or the video version from home of what I did on the streets, I felt like the same way I did when I was unemployed for a time in my life.
Yeah.
And it was snapping me back, kind of giving me a flashback of the trauma of feeling unemployed. And I thought, oh my gosh, surely there's a lot of people who are feeling that same way because you're at home more, you're not going into an office, you're not seeing people during unemployment times. You usually isolate yourself. You feel like garbage. You don't feel like you don't have the confidence that you need. And so I shook that. I had to shake those feelings off. I had to decide I am not going back there. And it was another time for me to allow kindness to rise up in me. And who can I help? Who's in those kinds of shoes? Because when I encourage somebody else, when I'm kind to somebody else who's facing something like that, it actually helps me snap to attention.
Yeah. And I could see it, with you and a lot of people that are like you, you thrive off the energy of interaction and people and connection. And it is a different level digitally.
It's not the same. And yet I immediately started thinking about how we could connect better in these very automated spaces. So many Zoom meetings. People were getting weary of Zoom. So many FaceTime calls, so many Skype calls. And it's like, oh my gosh, how do you make this more real? Right?
Yeah.
And really having conversations beforehand was a help. Being able to get on the phone with somebody and talk out the call beforehand was always a help. And then just initiating a conversation outside of the business of what you were doing was also a help, because then it was like talking to a friend versus just let's get down to business and have a podcast and act like this is totally normal.
No, I get it. I love this. I think it's what we need. We, always need kindness, but especially today, it is so intoxicating. That's why one of the things I love the topic, love the book so much that yesterday, I think we ordered over 300 copies to send out our CEO clients and good friends, because I just think it's so important. And you walk the talk. I mean, I've been able to, get to know you a little bit, and you really are this person, and you're like a cup of Joe every time I talk to you, where I get a little pump in my giddy up. So
thank you.
Tell our viewers what you're going to be presenting at this year's virtual customer service revolution. So tell them what they can look forward to hearing.
Well, I'm excited to give them a little bit more depth in terms of the conversation of how being compassionate towards yourself will actually help you become a better business leader in the corporate space. Whether you're an entrepreneur or somebody who works for a major company, I want you to know that there are things that motivate you on the inside that aren't necessarily conducive to the best relationships, to making the biggest numbers, to having that satisfaction and being in your sweet spot, to being fulfilled. And so I'm going to go into depth about how you need to allow kindness to be your motor. A lot of people go into beast mode. A lot of people allow pain, no pain, no gain to be their motivator. I'm going to show you and give you very simple evidence that the best motivator that you have at your disposal right now is kindness. And it works better than anything else.
I love it. I can't wait for our audience to hear you and the message, and then turn around and share that, because we do need this kindness movement to spread. It's so key. All right. I got a few quick rapid fire questions.
Okay.
These are hard.
Oh, no.
If you need to tap out, Because if you answer any of them wrong, it could ruin your career, or you can never run for political office, or you might win, nowadays. But,
no, this is going to be easy.
Who's better, Superman or Batman?
Superman.
All right, good. Are you a baseball fan?
What team are you asking about?
So, DH or let the pitcher hit?
DH.
All right, good. It's your last meal for whatever reason. And this isn't necessarily your favorite meal, like your Thai food. I know you love Thai food.
I do. It's my favorite.
I know. But maybe it's a bad meal that you wouldn't normally have, but you're not too worried about being bloated tomorrow or whatever comes with. So it's your cheat meal. What's that one thing that you probably you treat yourself to if tomorrow is ending?
Southern food. So like a big plate of like chicken fried steak or oxtails and mac and cheese, homemade only, collard greens.
Louisiana?
Well, Louisiana, Georgia,
Alabama.
anywhere southern. Some parts of Texas. I remember I would go every year to my doctor's located in Dallas. And so I'd fly in special for this physical. And you have to fast the day before, starting at 8 p.m. So at 4 p.m., I would eat the biggest Southern meal with fried something, mac and cheese, collard greens, black-eyed peas, and eat all that, and then start fasting at 8 o'clock.
Wow.
I don't do that anymore, and my running time on the treadmill is much better. I wonder why.
Well, you're like me. I do have my last meal all planned out. Like I got it to the detail.
Southern, cornbread, sweet tea.
Mine is a big bowl of Cocoa Krispies.
What?
Double stuffed Oreos. Yeah.
Wait a minute. You're going to have cereal as your last meal?
25 years. But man, I could go to town.
We got to elevate your last meal, hon. We got to have something. We got to have real food. Cereal, really?
Oh my God. I'm just drooling thinking about it. All right. If your life is a book, what is the title of the chapter you're living right now?
The title of the chapter I'm living right now is, I could give it two. Best Day Ever, or What Are You Doing Now That Everything's Working Out For You?
Good. Love it.
Those are my chapters.
Snooze or get right out of bed?
I definitely snooze a lot. I say that, laugh, because I have people in my life who would not be happy that I said that answer.
Yeah.
But I'm up early.
All right. If you find out that you have the afternoon free today and you didn't expect it, something canceled, you got 4 hours.
Okay.
Knowing that you like both of these, I'm wondering which you do. And I know you do it with a friend. A day at the spa or shopping?
Who's paying for the shopping?
It's on the house.
Right now?
Well, pretend normal, like you had availability to either.
Well, I found out today Saks Fifth Avenue is open, so all the department stores are open again. So I just found that out today. So I'm tempted to say shopping, but I think that your face is the most expensive and important real estate you'll ever own. So I would say facial for sure. Spa day. If I could get all the facial stuff.
All right. I told you got to come to Cleveland. We've been picking one of the top 20 salons in the U.S. So
are you open?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, then I need to go there next week.
Yeah. It's on me. Okay. West Coast or East Coast? And I asked that for the audience because you were born and raised on the West Coast and now spend most of your time on the East Coast. So you've had both. Where, and it's not a slight on the other one, but what are you?
I travel back and forth all the time. So I have to say the diplomatic answer is that I'm bi-coastal. I don't see myself ever giving up either coast. So that is my final answer, bi-coastal.
Okay. All right. Then the last question, which is because I'm so jealous of all the people you've met. Who is your favorite celebrity that you've interviewed, gotten to know, whatever that it was just, besides that, you might have thought, but when you got to know him, like a really cool experience.
Well, the easy answer is Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah.
I've interviewed him multiple times. Every time you learn more about him, he's truly kind, respectful, loves his family. And it's interesting. We were in Hawaii shooting for Hobbs and Shaw. And all of it, I stayed longer to have a vacation.
Why not?
Why not? After doing that. And I still saw his security guard, like his security detail around the island. And I'm like, hey. And I'm thinking, is it okay for me to talk to you? And he's like, yeah, my family is coming out here. I'm going to get to spend some time. So it was kind of cool to like chat them up and find out what was going on. But nothing, private was shared, but it was just like nice to see, people enjoying themselves in a chill way after doing a lot of hard work with them. So, but he's always been super respectful, super kind and fun and easy to talk to. And he believes in vision boards. So we've talked about that. It's fun.
Yeah, no, in your book, it's like, Bradley Cooper, Lady Gaga, Kevin Hart, Brad Pitt. I was like, man, that's some pretty good.
Brad Pitt, I just watched that interview again. And I was like, that was a really good chat. Like, it was just fascinating because men of a certain age think about mortality at a different level. Like they start thinking about how many years they have left.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed so much listening to men of a certain age talk about their life and how they've become so much gentler and more teachers in the age of around 52 to 55.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's true. I'm in that range. And
you're just like Brad Pitt.
Yeah, just like, but the one benefit I have really enjoyed about getting older is I worry less, and I don't know if that's
good.
Everyone's like that, but when I was in my 20s, 30s, you're like, oh my God, like whatever's happening, it could be 9/11, it could be the recession, it could be whatever you think that tomorrow's gonna end, and over time, you just know it's going to work itself out and maybe more confidence in yourself that you'll figure it out. But it's so nice not to, be, so volatile about, oh my God. I'm just like, all right, well, we'll figure it out.
We'll work it out. And I think that's kindness to yourself too, because worry is so toxic and it just eats you alive from the inside. It causes, it's the root cause of so many illnesses and diseases. But you can help. Your kindness could be in showing the next generation and people that you work with that calm, because everybody's looking for somebody to just bring peace in the storm. And we're in a storm right now. There's no denying it. We are in a storm. You can be like an eagle and rise above the storm and use that momentum, or you can get swept away like the chickens. But
yeah. All right. So we got the book that we're going to have a link to on the show page. And then we have your website, your hiddensuperpower.com, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We'll have all those up.
Get my website on there.
The videos that you post. You do a lot of Facebook Lives.
I do a lot of stuff.
I like that. You do. I don't know how you keep up. And I think you're cheating the world with your day job because you have so much to offer. And I want you to get out there and speak more than you do, and blog and podcast. I mean, you resonate,
Thank
beauty.
you.
So I appreciate it. Any other ways people can follow you, catch up to you?
Go to adriennebankert.com. And you can find out more about my e-courses. We have an e-course for the book, which is like a totally different level of pursuing kindness in your lifestyle, kind of architecting your life around kindness. I'm really proud of that. And I have a couple of other e-courses on connection and tailoring your life to be what you wanted it to be instead of being
I love that. We will provide those links too. I'm so glad that you're doing that.
Yeah.
All right, good. Adrienne, I can't thank you enough. You've been awesome to work with and a true pro. Thank you so much.
I'm looking forward to October.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for this episode. We will see you next week.
Have you registered to virtually attend the CX event of 2020, the Customer Service Revolution? You'll hear from Adrienne Bankert, Guy Kawasaki, Tom Bilyeu, Seth Godin, and a dozen more of today's thought leaders. Register now at customerservicerevolution.com. We hope you enjoyed today's episode with Adrienne Bankert and that you have some new ideas to bring a little more kindness into the world. Wasn't she inspiring? If you loved this episode, be sure to like the Customer Service Revolution podcast and write a review. And to hear more episodes, subscribe now on iTunes, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.